Sirens busy jiving. Guess I'll make my move. Crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, roll up, one of the world's greatest horn players. Comes from a family of 16, has toured with Cirque du Soleil's Michael Jackson, the Immortal World Tour, has been labelled the future of the trumpet. Please welcome to the Voodoo Room, Keyon Harrold. Hello, Keyon.
What's up?
Good to see you, sir.
You too, my man. How's everything?
Well, as you can imagine, not too dissimilar to what you guys are experiencing. You're in New York, right?
Yes, sir. I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Yeah, so since we last worked together, a lot has changed. You would have been touring. What have you been doing in the meantime while you've been in lockdown?
Man, I've just been a lot of writing, a lot of reflecting, a lot of missing, being out on the road, a lot of time, spending time with my son and my loved ones for the most part, catching up with people and just trying to stay motivated, man, and creating for the most part. That eating too much.
Yeah, I know. That's the danger, right?
It's for real.
The calories, putting on those calories. You're living in New York, so I would have thought that you would have been really affected badly with your movements, being able to go out and do things and stuff like that.
I mean, New York City is pretty much ground zero for the most part. It's very tough. Subway is only, that's, the mass transit for New York City is just easy to get around on a subway. If you've been in New York, most people would know. It's good to take cabs, but the metro transit is just you hop on and then you hop off and you're good. Now it's only allowed for essential workers. So it's harder to get around the city. But it is what it is. We make it work.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what we've been doing. We've been, like you say, we're being creative. That's why I've done this podcast, obviously, to keep myself sane and busy. Mm-hmm. And I'm very appreciative of your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man.
And I just want to ask you, how did you get into music?
The way I got into music, my family was big into music. So music was always around the house, and many of my siblings were musicians. My grandfather ran a drum and bugle corps that we all had to be a part of. So we all picked up horns and instruments from basically birth. It was always in the house. My parents were ministers, so gospel music was always around. My sisters and my elder brothers were always listening to what was on the radio. So music was essential to us. When I got the trumpet, when I got the horn, I just never put it down. I wanted to play the drums. That never happened. You met my brother, who started off on the horn as well, but he didn't get as good on the horn, so he ended up being able to switch to the drums. I started getting good on the horn, and they didn't let me go back. So, it was cool. From, the age of 6 or 7, I started getting serious when I was probably like 11 or 12. Practicing every day, 8 hours, 10 hours a day, trying to play Count Basie music, trying to play Miles Davis music, trying to just, make music. I used to want to be like Maynard Ferguson and, just anything I could do. I was doing it. I was in. Like it chose me in a way that I can't even make up.
Yeah, that's quite a transition from a young boy playing to an adult, really, and the amount of time you need to put into something like that, which is, I think a lot of people don't realise the amount of time that people put into their instrument, generally in terms of music and composition. I just also like to say you and I have something in common, believe it or not. You come from a family of 16 and I come from a family of 10. How was life? How was your life growing up in a large family?
Oh man, it was so much fun, man. So much love. I never, really had to worry about if my friends can come out because I had pretty much a football team of brothers. So we always had something to do. We could just go outside in the backyard and play. It was always entertaining, It took nothing for it to be a party. It took nothing for it to be some kind of a reunion, anybody comes over for any reason, my mom starts cooking and it turns into, a party, a celebration for whatever reason. So it was never a dull moment, always a good time. And I was always looking, for a place to sleep amongst my siblings. It was always tight, but it was cool. A lot of love, a lot of, just good memories.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it? I was a little bit different because I was the last one out of 10.
Oh, wow.
So by the time I came around, a lot of my siblings had already been married and having their own children. So it was quite strange because their children were like my siblings in a way because of the age difference. Between myself and the next one, there's like 10 years difference, and then there's 20 years, and then there's 25 years is the oldest difference, so... It was they were like my parents rather than my parents. My parents were like grandparents, if you know what I mean.
Indeed.
And I know that feeling. I know that vibe about finding your place in the world where you need to sleep.
Man, seriously.
But we also have other things in common because you worked for Cirque du Soleil.
I did, man.
Can you just explain how that all came about for you?
Okay. I started working with Cirque du Soleil in like 2011. I did it for like close to 3 years. And the way I heard about it, I started was the legendary Greg Fillingane's music director for Michael Jackson and, Stevie Wonder and so many people, just a legendary keyboard player from Detroit. He called me and I thought it was a joke because he called me and said, Keyon, I want you to join the circus. And I was like, what? Join the circus? I'm like, I didn't even know what that meant. And, he was like, yeah, I want you to, be a part of the band for the Michael Jackson Immortal World Tour. Because Michael Jackson, before he died, he passed away. He wanted to collaborate with Cirque du Soleil. And after he died, they actually made that happen. So Greg called me. And we toured for, close to 3 years on the Michael Jackson Immortal World Tour, an experience that I could, I love. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. The best gymnasts in the world, the best musicians in the world, the best crew in the world, the best everything in the world. And, we got to see some amazing places. Spent a lot of time in Australia, as a matter of fact, and all over Asia, just all over the world. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah, no, that's terrific because I was working for a circus in 2005, 2006 period, which was Circus Oz, and we got invited to Cirque du Soleil's performance. It wasn't the Michael Jackson one. I can't remember exactly the name of the performance, but I got to experience the production side of things at Cirque du Soleil. I was really blown away because I was working with a tricycle and they were working with a Ferrari. That was the difference. You know what I mean? So no, it's great. I mean, I know what you're saying in terms of touring the world with the circus group, but you would have definitely had more structure in terms of was it because would you be socializing with the gymnasts and was it all like
that tour was kind of like going to going to university. It was like that. It was like a party. It was like going to college. Just everybody was together. I mean, they had the different teams, and you had the band, you had the gymnasts, you had the dancers, you had, everybody had their own crews per se, but it was all together. We all toured, on the bus and we took the planes together. It was everything was kind of together, and it was, great memories. I'm glad you bring that up. Seriously, good times.
Because I actually have worked with Richard Lepage, who was the director of Cirque du Soleil. He was a guy who actually set up Cirque du Soleil back in 1981 in Canada. And I worked on a couple of his productions, which blew me away because I just saw the comparison from what we were doing in Australia to what he was producing. And he was years ahead of us, Like, it's amazing, it's amazing how someone from Quebec, Canada, can have such a vision for theatre? Because ultimately Cirque du Soleil is a theatre show on steroids, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. And and the one that we did is like a theater show, but it was like a rock show, because during the time we were doing that tour, and I think it was like some of the two top tours was kind of like, I want to say was maybe Bono, because when he was doing stadiums, and it was Cirque du Soleil, and it was just like they had like 50 of the big huge trucks with props and stuff like that. I mean, I couldn't even make this stuff up. It was extravagant, and but a good time. Amazing people, like people that I still deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, great. Oh, that's terrific to have those relationships.
Yeah.
Just want to touch on what's happening in New York. Is Cuomo going to open up soon, and what does this mean for you?
Hopefully Cuomo opens everything up, I guess, at a certain point. But I mean, for me, safety first. I'm hoping that when things do open up, it doesn't have another wave, So it's scary. I mean, just being out. Like, I went out yesterday. It's been the warmest day of the year so far. Excuse me. And there were so many people outside. I mean, you have people who are wearing masks, you have people who are not. You got people being safe, and you got some people who just don't even care. So it's a tough one, juxtaposed, from safety and the idea of people being able to make a living. So it's a tough one. Something's got to give, unfortunately. When it opens up, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to get back to work at some point. But for me, I'm willing to, wait it out until it's safe. I mean, for what I do as an artist, we bring people into the clubs, into the venues, and people are packed in pretty much. And it's like, from what we know about the virus, it's very easy to contract, and, until it's safe, we really can't do what we do. I mean, we have to do it, on the streams, or far away from each other. I mean, I hear some people are doing like drive-in shows where people can drive their cars, and and then you can, I guess, maybe have one person on the stage or whatever. It's different. I don't really know what that's going to do. I mean, we don't know how long it's going to be before we can really get back going. I mean, I'm hoping that the establishments don't go out of business. I mean, New York is a mecca for jazz. I can imagine that these jazz clubs are really, really taking a major hit. And when it comes back, will they be able to sustain themselves? From the idea of being able to have, 100 people or 300 people in attendance, and that being cut down to, for social distancing, a fifth or a sixth of that. I mean, how do they make a living? So I don't really know how that's all going to play out. What it's seeming like is that we probably won't get back totally going until 2021. I mean, hopefully sooner, but we don't know. It's a daily thing, man. As I talk to my agents and managers, we're hoping things get better. But for me, safety first, man. Safety first.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because our state premier has just announced today that they're looking at opening up pubs and restaurants and clubs in a couple of weeks.
That include performances as well?
I'm not sure. I think they'll stagger that. They'll start it off with 10 people at venues, and then 50 people about a month later or 3 weeks later or something like that. It's all in 2 week periods of time, something like that, up until July, and then they're going to make pubs open or clubs open up to 100 people in July sometime. So it makes me a little bit nervous because, like you say, if you're in a small venue and people come in with colds and flus, we're in the middle of winter at that stage, so you can only imagine. And if someone comes into a club with some type of bug and they don't know they got the bug, this is the thing about this thing, right? You don't know you got it, right? And you could be carrying it for weeks before you show any symptoms. Absolutely.
2 weeks. That sleeper virus, man. And some people never even show any symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They don't know enough about it.
That's right. And it makes me nervous because I think they're being hasty about the economy and trying to get that up and going as opposed to people's safety. And I think we're just lambs to the slaughter. I keep saying that. They're just going to see who drops and who survives, you know?
Yes, to me, it's like, what's the point, of the economy if there's nobody here to, if nobody's living?
That's
if people are dead, it's like the economy doesn't mean anything.
That's right. That's right, man. So in Australia, we don't hear much from people living in New York. We don't hear much from Australia, people who have had the virus and what it's like for them. On Monday, we saw a report on Washington State and their response. But this was the first time we heard from people who have contracted COVID and what they were going through. Do you want to tell me about your response to that, like in terms of information that's getting out, what you're hearing from overseas?
For me, it's, just hearing, for the last couple weeks, from hearing about amazing musicians contracting it and unfortunately succumbing to it and passing away. The great Wallace Roney, my man, amazing jazz singer Gregory Porter, his brother passed away like a week ago. Some family members of mine and just a lot of people. And, and I know some of my friends' parents have contracted it and gotten over it, thank goodness. But it's one of those things that if you don't know anybody who has it or has been affected by it, people call it a hoax. Yeah. I know, several people who've been affected by it in a major way. And it's a very real thing being in New York City, seeing, things change. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I lived in New York City when 9/11 happened, when the World Trade Center came down. And I remember that being a crazy, catastrophic, moment, that the world had never seen before. And it was terrible. But now it's something, on a daily basis, that, you can't travel the way you want to travel. You can't, meet with people the way you want to. You can't eat where you want to. You can't simply just go out to a restaurant and have a meal. The regular things that we love so much, now I don't think people will take for granted anymore because it's been taken from us for over 2 months now. And it's a different feeling. As an artist, my livelihood has to do with, engaging with people. And now the very thing that we're so used to doing, engaging with people and playing and, meeting people afterwards and whatnot, the things that we love, it's like you can't even do it because it's dangerous. It might kill you. And, it's a very different time. So as an artist, man, I'm trying to figure out how to bring some joy, how to bring some life to the people, man. Try to release some music that bring up the heartbeats of something, man. It's a tough one right now.
Yeah, because when we met, you came out in November last year, is that right?
Yeah. It was good times.
I mean, it seems like a million years ago since I worked with you. It really does. It's weird, isn't it, that it's only been 6 months or 8 months.
Exactly. It's only been 6 months, but it seems like an eternity ago. These last 2 months have felt like about 10 years. Yeah. So
I know it's nuts, man. And you just think back to that period of time in November. But somewhere deep inside of me, all I can say is that for the whole of 2019, I actually felt, well, especially in the second half, that something was up. I just didn't really, I couldn't put it into words, but I just knew something was happening on a more higher consciousness, and I don't know, and hence we had the bushfires in Australia. Then we went from the bushfires to COVID, which has been a disaster.
It's like a 1-2 punch, man.
Yeah, a 1-2 punch.
Seriously.
Yeah. Exactly. So, do you want to talk about your album, The Magician, and the shooting of Michael Brown, because I think in Australia we don't really hear a lot of, again, we don't hear that information, and I know that influenced your album, and I just wanted to find out what was that in, what that detailed for you.
Got you. I mean, the idea of racism, systemic racism, systemic biases, you know, in America, but it's not just in America, it's all over, you know, where people don't feel that everybody's equal, or doesn't feel that everybody has equal access, or don't allow equal access to people to simply live, you know, the kind of life that they want to live. You know, in America, I mean, where I come from, it just wasn't easy. A kid named Mike Brown was killed by the police for no good reason. I mean, basically shot in the back. He wasn't armed, and that basically started a movement called Black Lives Matter. You know, and me being a black man and looking, you know, just like this guy, you know, and I have a son who's 14, and he's just as tall as me, and you know, unless you talk to him, you wouldn't even know he's 14. You'd think he was a man. He's taller than a lot of men. So, you know, but you know, knowing him, knowing that he's a human, knowing that he's a sweet boy, a great kid, a great man, great young man, and it's just like some people look at him as a threat, and that's the kind of thing that this world needs to reevaluate. You know, people aren't threats the way they think they are. You know, they're people want the same thing. People want love, people want affection, people want to eat good food, people want to hear good music, people want to just have a good time and raise their family and make money and, you know, just be good people. So sometimes, you know, unfortunately, everybody doesn't think that, and people, you know, feel that they have a right to harm your body. So that's the reason why I wrote this song for Mike Brown. His name is Mike Brown, and I wrote this song called MB Lament from the standpoint of a parent, man, because I'm a parent. The idea that if you send your child out, you expect them to come home, you know. You expect them to come home and be there, but you don't want to find them in the street, you know, like roadkill, you know, and that's what happened. So I wrote this song because I just felt terrible about it. And the thing was, the idea of him being killed was not the first, because it still happens to this day. A kid was killed a few weeks ago. This guy named Ahmaud Arbery, and they were doing this thing called Running for Arbery, because he was literally just running down the street, and these guys got in their truck and they hunted him down and they killed him in the street.
Where was that? What part of America was that?
It was in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah. So this continually happens. So I wrote the song MB Lament, but then I renamed the song to When Will It Stop? It hasn't stopped, and we're about 8 years later. The thing with Mike Brown happened in 2013. So, you know, I, you know, as an artist, like to try to highlight, you know, the injustices that are going on, you know, for me, for my community, and it's not just my community, because we share a community, we share a world community, and it's things that most people don't get an opportunity to see because a lot of it is covered up, unfortunately. So as an artist, I try to use my platform to shine a light on different things.
And that's a beautiful thing, because that's the only way you can do it, I guess, as an artist, is reflect on these tragedies and somehow put that into words and music, and hopefully somebody can take note of that and just to be more aware of what's going around them, especially in America, because, I mean, we see a lot of that endemic racism up in the Aboriginal communities in Australia, where, you know, you just see some horrific situations happening, and you just find it hard to believe in 2020 that this is the mentality of the human race. You know what I mean? This is the way we deal with things, and it's just staggering as far as I can see, you know, because I thought as humanity goes forward and evolution goes forward, that we would progress and see brighter skies, but it just seems like we're going backwards in a lot of ways. And that's why I asked, where did this shooting happen? Because in Georgia, historically, has always been a place. Was he shot by police or was he shot by just random dudes?
Well, he was shot by, the story is pretty much still developing because it was a cover-up. This actually happened in February, the end of February. But it had been covered up to a point that people kept pressing and it started to make national news. What happened was, in this particular town, the people who killed him, one of the guys was a former police officer and a former investigator. I guess retired or whatever. So he basically wanted to basically police his own town, pretty much. So he had made connections with the actual police force to say that if anything were to anything happens in my town, I'll take care of it. So that's what happened.
So he's like Rambo.
Yeah, pretty much. Vigilante type person. So that's what happened. And it's a video of it, and that's what the horror was, the outrage that people are really having, because there's a video of literally a guy, driving behind the kid, and then a guy in front of the kid. They box him in where he's trying to run away, and you can just see these people just shoot him down like an animal.
Yeah, sure. That's just disgusting, really. But unfortunately, that story is just going to be smothered in the context of COVID-19, and this is the problem, I think, because what I have been seeing in the newspaper, just in like the third page in our local newspaper, there was correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you know about this, but in Michigan, there's been people who have tried to storm the city council and take over the mayor's office. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I find that so what's actually happening is almost like a civil war in America, because people are now self-arming. They've run out of guns, and like this officer, he's taking his own law into his own hands, and
that's what it is. And what it is we have divisive leadership here at the moment. So it's it really is, and the leadership plays on people's differences. The leadership plays on people's plays with fear on people's either insecurities, people's I don't know. It's a real mind game that's going on here, and it's a tough one. And the problem is, and the horrible part is, people are dying.
Yeah, on all levels. It's just a tragedy, and I hope there's someone who comes out with some common sense and puts an end to some of this craziness, because that's what you guys really need. We all need it around the world, but we need some leader somewhere to say, let's just treat people respectfully. Let's just be respectful, and let's just be honorable,
Exactly. Let's be better human beings.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Exactly, man.
Seriously.
So you worked with Common, is that right?
Yep.
I actually worked with Common, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, when?
He came to Australia 2015, and
was it the Soul Fest?
No, it was a show at the Track nightclub in Toorak, and I was the engineer at that stage at the club, and we had Common and we had Fat Joe.
Okay.
Do you know those guys?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
major players right there.
What's that?
I said those are major players, Fat Joe and Common. Yeah, Common, that's my guy. I started off with Common as a professional musician.
Yeah, because I thought he was primarily a hip-hop guy just doing samples and stuff, but it was good to see they actually had a band and backing singers and more a rhythmic melodic style of playing.
Yeah, Common was the person who introduced me to Fela. So Common's always about music and the next wave, and he loves, he loves the DJ, but he's about the band. He's about organic vibes, and he likes to move. And he doesn't really like it to be the same every time. He wants he wants the music to be alive. So he's a special person in that way. Always evolving.
He probably wouldn't remember me, but I remember him. How's that?
You never know. He's one of those people who has a great memory. Seriously.
Okay.
Yeah. And knowing you, I'm sure you killed the sound, so he was probably very excited about that.
Yeah, I think he actually had his own sound guy. I was just doing systems for him. Yeah. No, it was cool. But I put all the production together for him, of their tech specs and all that sort of stuff.
Got you.
Yeah, no, that was great. There was a whole bunch of those sort of guys that came through in a 6-month period before I joined Bird's Basement, and then I got the gig at Bird's Basement.
Seriously, Bird's Basement is a really, really cool place, man. Obviously, I played all over the world, but that place is so chill and so it's low key, but at the same time, it just has this energy. It reminds me of like New York clubs in a way. It's just, first of all, the sound. I got to shout you out because you have it right in there, Pete. Seriously, it's jamming, and it's just a good vibe. It's just easy to play as a trumpet player. If I have to fight the sound, what I can be dead. DOA, I could be dead on arrival. After the first 2 songs, I could be finished. But the way you had that sound, the way you made me feel was very, very, the way it needs to be, as for an artist, for a trumpet player. But I just like the reception and the warmth that Bird's Basement has as an establishment, as a club. I mean, we were there for 4 or 5 days. And each day was better to me, was more love and more appreciation. When all of this stuff is over, I definitely look forward to getting back there, man, with some new vibes, some new music, man. Seriously.
We would love to have you back. Unfortunately, the thing that we got told in late February was we were going down from 5 days a week to 3 days a week, and no more international bans for the foreseeable future.
Crazy. Damn.
And I was devastated because, I got to meet a whole bunch of really great artists. And, I mean, I know that sounds selfish of me to say that, and it is from my point of view. But, I'm hoping, with this covert stuff going on and everything else, just compiled together, and so we don't know where we stand now in that spin.
What a difference a couple months makes, man. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. It's definitely a bad dream.
I know. It was for me because it was so intense, that whole, just coming out of the bushfire, starting work, thinking we're going to be the same again throughout another year, and then we got told that in late February, and then 2 weeks later, the covert kicked in, and then we had to stop work. So how many children do you actually have?
I just have one. I have one son.
So you're not looking at 16?
Oh, no way. My dad, when I talk to my dad, he's like, yeah, maybe one of y'all can catch up to me. I'm like, no, sorry, Dad. It's a different day. Different day. Now, just one right now. I mean, hopefully I'll have more, but just one now.
So how old's your older sibling?
Frank is now 51.
Wow. So you guys are relatively young.
Yeah, 51, 49, 48, 46, 45. It just goes straight down. Yeah.
Are you the youngest?
No, I'm in the middle.
Okay. So how old's the youngest?
My youngest sister just turned 21.
Wow, that's nuts, man.
Yeah.
So they were having children right from 1968 right up till 2000 or 1999, something like that.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, my dad, he started before my mom, so yeah.
That's impressive, man. Because that's, see, with us, they always used to say Catholics have big families.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the Pope said don't use any condoms.
Right.
But I don't know if my dad actually was that. I mean, they were religious, but not to that extreme, you know. But I just think he was from the Mediterranean, and he had that sort of fiery blood in him, and he wanted to produce children, you know.
Absolutely. Hey, listen. It comes down to it like this: if you can handle it and you can take care of it, you know, take care of that many bodies, then cool, go for it. You
That's
know.
it.
If you have the time and the discipline, you know, and the love, go for it.
I mean, it is hard work, right?
Oh, it's definitely hard work. I mean, I have one son. I mean, as an artist, is definitely tough because you have to maintain. I mean, just my job is like having kids. So, but you know, having my son is a whole nother thing. But if I had more, I don't know.
You've been working with Robert Glasper. Can you just explain how you met Robert?
Oh yeah, Robert Glasper, one of the premier artists, you know, in jazz and music of our time. Just a super versatile guy. We worked on the Miles Davis movie together. You know, worked on the soundtrack with the amazing actor Don Cheadle about Miles Davis. That project received a Grammy Award. Robert and I go back to, we go way back. We met in high school when we were about 15 or 16, but we both ended up going to, moving to New York and going to Managed Jazz program at the New School University. And we started, you know, making music from there and till this day, you know. That's
an amazing transformation to have that relationship with someone so talented as yourself, and that sort of galvanized yourself, I guess, to get more of a broader spectrum of people. So like you've gone from him to Common to Mary J. Blige, is that right? Mm-hmm. So did you tour with her, or did you just record?
Yeah. I've toured with Mary J. Blige, recorded with Mary J. Blige and Erykah Badu and Mos Def and Gary Clark Jr. and Nas and Jay-Z, Beyonce. So, you know, I really don't, you know, I don't discriminate when it comes to music. I like good music, whether it be hip-hop, jazz, R&B. Doesn't really matter to me. Long as it's good music, I'm for it. I'm all for it and I'm all in. I've been blessed to have a career that spanned, you know, multiple genres, and you know, my music is like that as well because I've been influenced by more than just jazz. I love jazz, but you know, music touches people, you know, in many different ways, in many different places. So I try to use as many of those influences as possible, you know. And I love working with all kind of artists, from Rihanna to Eminem, and Mac Miller, and you know, so many different amazing artists who do their own thing. But I just like to, you know, fuse my creativity with theirs, and you know, we create cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome that you actually can jump from genre to genre, you know, and add your feel, your taste in that structural side of music, you know.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think a lot of people could do that, you know.
Hey, it's, you know what it is? It's I think it's a humility thing, man. A humility and respect for things, you know, other kinds of music and other kinds of rhythms, you know. Another person that you met, my man PJ Morton.
Oh yeah, man, he's awesome.
Yeah. So me and PJ and I, we met working with Erykah Badu.
Because M. Darby played with Eric Badu, right?
Yeah, and Darby as well.
She's awesome, man. She's unbelievable, man. She was one of the best singers I've ever mixed in my life, man. She was incredible.
Yes, sir. And Darby's the truth.
Yeah, she's awesome, man. I just, if it's anyone, I mean, bar yourself, obviously, but if it's anyone that we could get back in Darby, man, I'd get her back in a shot. You know, she's terrific.
Absolutely. I love her.
What I noticed about her when I was mixing her at Birds, because I always had growing up, my brother used to tour Europe a lot because he's a musician. He's a sax player, singer.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought back some VHS tapes back in those days of Dizzy Gillespie and Charles Mingus.
Got it.
Charles Mingus. So I got a little bit, growing up as a kid, I got exposed to that side of jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into, my brothers used to collect vinyl records and get jazz albums sent over, blues and jazz albums over from America in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was growing up in the 70s, I used to look at these covers, you know, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, they had them all, man. And because you couldn't get these in Australia, obviously.
Gotcha.
You had to belong to a record club and get them from New York. That's where we were getting them from.
Gotcha.
And I remember just looking at those covers and smelling the vinyl record and just was, it just absorbed me, you know, as a child, looking at the lyrics at the back, or because I used to write a synopsis about the artist on the back of the album, and and then I realised I came across Nina Simone, and then I just, when I saw Ndami, this is the whole point. What I'm trying to say, when I saw Ndami sing at Birds, I just thought, she's in that world, man. She's capturing that vibe.
Reincarnation.
From that world.
Yes, sir. And Domby's definitely that, man. I miss her, as a matter of fact. We need to do something together.
Yeah, you should, man.
Yeah. She's cool. Yeah.
What can I say? You know,
We'll make that happen.
I'm just wrapped that I got to work with you guys. You know, like it's been. I know it sounds weird because every week we used to get internationals and you sort of create these relationships, and it's humbling for me that you're able to remember me, and you know, because I mean, you come across all types of engineers and production people all the time, you know, so it's great that we've been able to connect on some level, and I try and do that with everybody that comes in to Birds, you know, to try and create that connection with people. So we always
it's because you're a cool dude,
relationship.
Pete. It's because you're the truth, man. That's why. That's what you're great people, great vibe, good energy, man. And you know, as artists, we need that. You know, especially you can be traveling. You know, 16-hour flight. You get off a flight, and if you encounter an asshole, the gig probably won't go well. You know, so you know, the minute we walked in, it was just great energy, good vibes. You know, and the whole band would tell you we totally appreciate it, and we still talk about it to this day, man.
Beautiful.
And
man.
Definitely we are really, you know, the ultimate gratitude to you and your team there. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's good to hear.
It's true. It's true.
Because I mean, that Magician album, man, that was incredible. Like, I listen to it still today when I walk my dog. And
wow, man.
It's awesome. It's a really good album.
I appreciate it. I've been working on the new project. So, I mean, obviously, because of COVID, that really changed, you know, release dates and different things, and different plans. But some new things are coming, like, really soon. And like I said, I can't wait till we get through this thing so we can, you know, meet again in person. And make some music and send some good vibes and good vibrations to people, man. I can't wait.
Because you actually went to the Smokehouse, didn't you?
I did. My man Martin.
Yeah. Give him a shout out, man.
Absolutely. Martin at Smokehouse 101. If you want some barbecue, the best barbecue in the entire world. And I'll say that over and over again. Shout out and much love to my man Marty. And anybody listening to this, and if you want some good food, the best everything, go check out my man Marty. He does gourmet barbecue. So it's, you know, good times. You know, I can't wait to get back.
Yeah, because he supplied PJ Morton with a barbecue in the green room. It was just, I could smell it from where I was mixing from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.
Like it was pretty potent, that taste, wasn't it? Like, I mean, it's incredible, but I mean, I've got a weak stomach, so I can't. I look at that stuff, man. I get indigestion.
Got you. Yeah, man. Martin is the best. I met him, years ago. I introduced him to PJ. I met Martin when as a matter of fact, when I was with Cirque du Soleil, because Smokehouse 101 used to be something else. And Martin was working there as kind of like a gourmet chef, and then he was able to take over the establishment, and his dream was to do a barbecue spot. So, and he loves it. I mean, it's interesting because he's an artist of food, and I mean, he plays the bass too, and a music lover. But it's different when you meet people who love what they do. I love what I do, in music. This guy loves what he does. You love what you do, and it makes a difference. I mean, the vibration is different, man, and people feel that. But anyway, talking about my man Martin again, he's just a genius when it comes to making food, man. So anybody in Melbourne, if you get an opportunity, go support my man Martin. Smokehouse 101. Seriously. Yeah.
What was your favorite food from him? Because I'm not a big
man.
eater, so I don't
you know
really
what?
know.
Every time I go, he does something different because he does it special for me. But his burgers are good. I mean, I went and he did a cheeseburger on glazed donuts. He did that for me, which is
glazed
crazy.
Donuts.
Yes.
Glazed donuts with a hamburger
and cheese, and it was
wow,
amazing. But I'm saying, I mean, I went there. He's done kangaroo for me. He's done crocodile for me. He's done, ribs and everything. When I go, like, I literally have to almost become a vegetarian for a month. But but anyway, it's seriously. I go. He shows so much love, and he puts love in the food. So special person, man.
Totally, man. And I got to meet him at your gig because he came up to me and we had a bit of a chat. He's a very lovely guy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Very lovely guy. Yeah, very, like you say, he's very humble. And I just hope his business is still, going okay, all things considered, because obviously he would have taken a hit because of the COVID-19.
Absolutely. He's doing, I mean, from what I see, he's doing a lot of takeaway. Oh,
great. Yeah, terrific. All right, bro. I'll let you get on with your evening and stay safe.
Oh, my man. You too, man. It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No worries. My pleasure, buddy.
Take care.
Left to flee when voodoo strikes. It'll tear apart your head when voodoo strikes. You wish that you was dead when voodoo strikes. It'll tear apart your head.